Council meeting now come to order. At this time, I'll ask Councilman Russ Touchberry if he'll ask invocation, ask an invocation and pledge allegiance to the flag.
Good evening, everyone. If you would like to join us in the prayer, please feel free to do so. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. We thank you for this town and what it means to each and every one of us. Lord, we ask for your wisdom and guidance and your assistance in being a reflection of you in all that we do and how we conduct ourselves this evening. Lord, we also ask for your protection over our men and women in uniform who risk their lives every day to preserve freedom and protect us all. We ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we'll have awards given by the Knights of Columbus.
Mr. Prophet? And Mr. Mayor, if you can come down. Can you come down? And council, if you can stand.
Mr. Mayor, Council, it gives me a great pleasure to recognize these emergency responders. And it kind of comes back full circle due to the fact that at one time when I was a much younger individual, worked for the town, I was the recipient of this. So now I am the Grand Mat of 6629, and my deputy Grand Mat Tim McCullough is with me, and we want to recognize these individuals for the efforts that they bring forth every day, from emergency calls to service calls. Some of them might go look over with a shy eye, but everything matters because with these men and women and what they do day in and day out matters to each and every one of us. So the plaque will read in recognition for your devotion and duty, honor, loyalty to the community, for making our world, not our community, our world, a safer place. We wish to express our gratitude and say thank you and appreciate your efforts. Rodney Prophet Grand Night 2022. This is for 2022. We're a little late to the party. So you kept the best for last. But as in the past, before COVID and everything else, we as 6629, we usually have a family night and a potluck. We're going to return that again. We're going to bring that back to have a community where we can meet individuals, families, and they can meet us. So with that being said, we would like to call these individuals up front. I'll support Somerville Fire, of course, Somerville, the telecommunicator of the year is Brittany Brown. For Somerville Police Officer of the Year, Corporal Christopher Wyckoff. And for Somerville Firefighter of the Year, Captain Chad Lobo. Get a quick picture, and some of my members of my 6629 like to come up. We'd like to get you guys in the picture also really quickly, and council can get on their business.
I can't help but say a few words, the Chief Prophet, y'all give him a hand of congratulations. You know, it makes me proud to say that, I hired Rodney when he was a boy. You know, it makes me so proud to see him stand up here and say that. Now he's working down there for Boeing. Retired from Somerville Fire Department, a retired chief, and just a great guy. I mean, and started something again that we used to do down at the Knights of Columbus. I don't know how many of these awards I've presented down there for firefighters, EMS guys, all the guys in public safety that I stood up and gave the awards just like he did. And he said he's gonna start it again. And Rodney, I'm proud of you.
Thank you, sir.
I mean, it shows that you're a leader. You're a leader among men. You're a leader among people in public safety. You want to keep it going. And it just lets me know how proud I am that I've helped move you up through public safety. I saw you as a leader there. You've proven your ability to me long before now, but you hadn't stopped. And God bless you. Continue going. I've told you this a many times, just me and you talking. And you just keep it going, my brother. I enjoyed working with you. Among many a bad fire, and also as one of my many officers. And you're doing the right thing, my man. I want to tell you that. And don't give up. I'm getting old now. But I ain't gonna never stop congratulating you. And you just keep it up. And I love you from the bottom of my heart. All right, approval of the minutes of previous meetings.
Mr. Mayor, I'd move approval of the minutes from the June 8th, 2023 Town Council meeting and July 10th, 2023 Standing Committee meetings.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve the minutes of the A and B town council meetings. All in favor of this? Signify by raising your hands and voting aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion carried.
Next is the public hearing to receive public input on an ordinance to amend the Town of Somerville Code of Ordinances, Chapter 20, Article 4, Section 20-102, to reduce the 80% discount of the maximum impact fee allowed to 0%, so as to apply 100% of the maximum allowable Parks and Recreation impact fee.
I'll make a motion. Public hearing, sorry.
Okay, at this time, we'll go into the public hearing regarding this ordinance. So at this time, I'll open the floor for public hearings. Anybody got anything concerning this public hearing regarding the ordinance that we just talked about? If you do, let it be heard.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Kevin Carroll from Newington. Anytime you go from 0 to 100% on an impact fee, it's a good day.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
Public hearing.
Okay. And anybody else on public hearing? Sorry.
Would you please explain this? What the effect is? What is the effect of?
Come forward, Mr. Hudson, if you don't mind. Come forward.
Like to understand the effect of this. what does it mean to the taxpayers of Somerville? Are we giving, are we reducing the impact fee on developers?
No,
Or
sir.
are we increasing that?
It would be an increase to
An
the
increase?
developer. Yes, it actually, it changes the impact fee discount rate from 80%, which is what it's set at currently, and it changes it to 0%, meaning the developer pays 100%
And,
of the eligible impact fee.
and what is the impact fee now and what will it be?
The dollar figure,
Yeah,
don't have that on me. I don't know if Jesse does. I know it was originally, well, the total impact fee on a single family residential unit was around $3,000. I'm not sure what portion of that is parks.
and you don't know what it will be when it goes to 100%?
I do. I don't have it on me now. We certainly have it. Do you have it, Jesse, by any chance? You don't.
But it is only on new development
Right.
coming into town. And there have been certain exclusions to it as well for people who've already started in the process.
Fee for single family, the parks and recreation, not the total.
Mhm.
Is $771. The new one, for single family would be 38. The current one for apartments is $371, the new one would be $1854. The current one for a mobile home is $723, and the new one will be $3650.
Mr. Mayor, Jesse, you mentioned the other day when we talked about this, I understand the people who are buying affordable housing, people who are buying, homeowners who are buying affordable housing, I think they are waived. They don't have to pay this fee, right?
There is an exception, yeah, if you can show that you're meeting the requirements.
Right. Yeah, I think that's important. I just want to make sure the public understands that.
So the net effect is to bring in more money from the impact fee from developers who are developing projects in the future that are not on the books today.
Yes, sir. That doesn't affect anybody that's living here now.
Because we've got a gracious plenty of development. And we need more money from them to pay for all this infrastructure that's gonna be on our backs. That's my opinion.
Thank you, sir. Anybody got anything else on? Yes, sir.
William Harbison. I live at 403 West Second South Street. At the last meeting, you, am I misunderstanding here? That you were talking about doing away or cutting the impact fees?
You are misunderstanding.
No. That's the impression that it looked like it was in the
We'll raise it.
8th and the 9th.
Oh, sir, we're talking about raising them,
Okay. About doing what?
sir.
You said it was doing about what?
Raising them. This raises the impact.
Yeah, the
fee.
reason I'm saying is that the Mr. McIntosh brought it up about cutting taxes last, and everyone voted against it. Now, my taxes have gone up 1 year, past year before last, $500. This year, $1,200. And I was under the impression that you were talking about doing away with impact fees. That doesn't sit well with me. I need taxes cut, not going up.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else under public comments?
Actually, that's a public hearing, Mayor.
I mean,
We're setting
public
a
hearing. Okay, if that's all under the public hearing, we'll move on. Public comments now. Anything, anybody got anything on the public comments?
Mr. Mayor, we have a good number of people signed up to speak about 500 North Main Street. If you're speaking about the removal of the parcel from the Midtown Tax Increment Financing District and not the county's redevelopment, you can speak at the beginning of the meeting and then the rest is at the end. Is there anybody speaking on the removal of it from the TIF district?
It's a, yeah, there's a whole list. Look at the list, it has fits by.
Yes, sir. There's two issues, removing it from the TIF or the county's development of it.
Well, they're,
One's on the agenda and one's not.
yeah, they're related. You can't separate the two.
I'll let Mr. Mayor, do you want to decide?
I couldn't hear you there.
So the issue is whether or not discussion of the development can be discussed here or if it needs to go on. You can say you'll go ahead and hear it.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and hear everybody now. So if you're gonna say the same thing over and over, we would rather, it's no use in us hearing the same thing over and over. So if you've got a spokesman that's gonna speak for the group, we'd rather hear that because there's no use in us here, sitting here all night, hearing the same thing over and over. So we'll just open it up for discussion and see how it goes, okay? Is that all right with everybody? Okay, so let's go ahead.
First, I have David Neal.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is David Neal. I live at 1104 South Main Street, Somerville Historic District. My remarks tonight are to the town council today and tonight are subject to the tax and legal ramifications of 500 North Main Street. The proposed public-private partnership is a scheme in which the taxpayers will be losers in the end. Something we're very tired of. It will erode the tax base generally due to the fee and lieu of taxes. Will erode the tax base of the TIF due to the exception made in favor of the county. It will provide an incentive at every shortfall and net revenue it engenders, whether the result is default, delinquency, or change of circumstances of any party to this arrangement. It will be a charge to the taxpayers in the TIF or in the town, but especially other businesses in the TIF to cover the difference. And that's what we're tired of. It will constrain the growth of small businesses due to the increased cost of operating inside the TIF and will provide a powerful incentive for the town to allow such arrangements to proliferate like the kudzu in my backyard. However, the actions taken today and already in order and manner of taking them may in fact be illegal and will be at least create contingent liabilities, the cost of which cannot be known until something does go wrong, i.e. North Maple Street, Bear Island Road. Liquidated damages in favor of the developer when it does. This is just another sucker's bet. In closing, I was sitting in front of the memorial today, 500 North Main Street. I've only lived here for 11 years. And it's a beautiful place. It's a nice place to sit. Hot, but it was a nice place to sit. My dad served, and I just want to read what it says. It says, in honor of those who serve. In honor of those who serve. And it says this, in God we trust. we just prayed to God. I trust with all my heart, with all my wallet, that you'll be responsible town council and let the taxpayers know, because we're the ones that count. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Pat Cone,
Let me speak. This will be short and sweet.
Pat, pull that mic down where we can hear you.
I don't want to be too loud.
Thank you.
I'm a Somerville girl, been here all my life, was born in Charleston, but raised here. Married a Somerville boy, had 2 boys. I do not want the hospital to be torn down. It is a national monument, and the monument that we have in front of it is very important to me also. I hope and pray that you will think about this before this is done. And that's about all I have to say. It's just, it's very important to me. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
next Andrew Banks.
Good evening, Council, Mayor Waring. My
Sure.
name is Andrew Banks. I live at 1234 South Main Street. One of the more recent members of the community, my wife and I moved in October of 2021. And while it's only a short time, Somerville is the place, after careful consideration, my wife and I have decided to invest our time, our money, our lives. This is where we wish to spend the rest of our days. As a result of that, I wish to speak generally about consequences. So you've heard the consequences of different types of financing or funding of development, but there are more consequences than simply where the money goes and where it flows. One of the consequences I believe has not been considered or even evaluated well are the impacts on things like traffic and the impacts of things like parking. I looked at the plans that the county has put forth, and I know that they're not finalized, that it was one plan of perhaps many. But the fact of the matter is, it came along with no impact studies. There has been no engineering thought put into what happens when we introduce 400 parking spots or 400 additional vehicles, especially at that intersection, which is already pretty crowded with a gas station and a drive-through for McDonald's. To the extent that, frankly, I was here for 6 months before I knew there was a Veterans Memorial on that property because I wouldn't dare remove my eyes from the road in front of me for the traffic, the people leaving and entering the thoroughfare. There are standards for things like storage capacity and traffic lanes and turn lanes. There are standards for how many parking spots per residence should be there. And they vary, right? But when the county says they wish to create Class A office space, that means something with respect to what we'll call a parking ratio. So per 1,000 square feet of commercial space, there are standards for how many parking spots should exist. It's right now, at least from my research, which is brief, somewhere between 4 and 5 parking spots per 1,000 square feet. For residences, depending upon what the level of the price, the selling price, the markets you're trying to attain, as well as how many bedrooms, could be anything from 1 to 1.5 per 2 bedrooms to 1 parking spot per bedroom. If you look at the residences that are on that development plan as it exists, the number of parking spots, even with that large parking deck they plan to build, are not adequate to store those vehicles. And if you're trying to attract young professionals, you can count on the fact that just about every adult in that residence is going to have a vehicle and be employed. So what am I saying? I'm just asking this. I know that this body may not have direct influence over these development plans, but I know that there is definitely collaboration between that body and this body. And so I'm asking you as a concerned citizen, please help us make sure that the right amount of due diligence is done, that the right level of engineering studies have been obtained, and that the consequences of making a development happen, which could be potentially beneficial for the community, don't end up being a net negative because of the unintended consequence of not accounting for things like parking and traffic, and even vehicular and pedestrian traffic. So that's what I'll leave you with this evening, and I thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, sir.
Dickie Myler,
Mr. Mayor, since you said everything goes, we rolled the dice hard tonight, so I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Distinguished council, a dear guest, I don't want to beat a dying horse to death, but hopefully my words will be like a horse whisperer and breathe some life into something we all care about. And I do apologize for reading this, but I wanted to stay within my timeline, so I'll be very brief. On July 4th, 1776, the following solemn words were penned by our forefathers. We mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Why? And for what reason? To preserve and protect their God-given rights and freedoms that they sought. All through history, similar hardline pledges and commitments have been spoken by people who believed that whatever of real value was at risk to lose was worth risking everything to keep. This is the type of steel backbone that has been the template of all the great leaders of our country, our state, and our town. Many times it's difficult to do the right thing, especially when you're flying in the face of stern opposition. Recently, we traveled to Europe and had a chance to visit several towns, some significant, some not so. But almost all of them had the same common ideal. They had figurative, what we call standing stones of remembrance that had stood through the test of time, many for hundreds of years. Whether it be a church, a bridge, a wall, a clock, a street, or a building, they were all part of the town's history and their story. And the local folks who lived there were proud of it. They embraced it. In similar fashion, many of the towns in our region have done the same thing, but in a different manner. That being trying to preserve and protect the small town feel and sense that is so endearing, not only to those who live there, but those who come and visit and want to stay. They have achieved this small town ambiance by incorporating measures of reduced density, height restrictions, increased sidewalks and green space, incorporating measures of reduction of traffic and redirection of traffic, nurturing a safe and enjoyable walkable shopping district, community commitment and collaboration, and passionate leadership. It works. Towns like Hendersonville, Waynesville, Travelers Rest, Black Mountain Highlands, Ocean Springs, and others have all done incredible jobs of embracing the growth that is inevitable, but at the same time, not compromising their downtown core and the proverbial golden goose that made that community special. As you know, according to the 2022 U.S. Census data, South Carolina is the third fastest growing state in America. And 2 of the 5 fastest growing regions in South Carolina are Berkeley County and Dorchester County. The main reason, migration to the south. We are blessed with seasonable weather, beaches, lakes, rivers, our reduced cost of living, comparatively speaking, our pleasant atmosphere, abundance of land, historic landmarks, a history, and a sense of place. This is the Southern lifestyle that makes us unique and special. Somerville, of course, is in the bullseye of the growth corridor, 30 minutes from the beach and I-95. Growth is happening and will continue to happen. So what can we do to preserve Somerville? I have 2 main points. I'll be brief. We must develop a strategic annexation plan coupled with smart growth strategies for the surrounding outskirts of our beautiful town and area. If not, we will soon become the stepchild of both and engulfed by both the cities of North Charleston and Goose Creek. And secondly, we must preserve and protect our downtown shopping district and the main gateway into our beautiful town. This is why 500 North Main Street is so vital to our future. It is one of the last standing stones and on many different levels of importance. I say to all of you, stand up, hit the pause button. Let's redirect the whole narrative and seek a win-win outcome for all of us by therefore having open transparency, a better collaboration with the citizens, and find the time that we can do something that doesn't drive a wedge between us, which I know you feel, but in essence, brings us together as one community. If we do that, I believe all of us can actually say
that Mayor Tecklenburg said when they decided to hold back on the Union Pier development, we can find a day of celebration for all of us. Do the right thing, I say. Even if you don't own it, stand up and say no. Don't let the county wag you around. Please. Thank you.
Anna Wade Banks.
Good evening, Anna Wade Banks. I live at 1234 South Main Street. So I'd like to read something from Colonel Thomas Dion. He wrote this and sent it to the county council. However, he was not able to be here tonight, so he asked that I read it. So if you, it's just one page. Ladies and gentlemen, I was shocked beyond belief to read the article today in the Somerville Journal scene concerning your possible decision to sell the old hospital property located in the heart of the town. Yes, I am for downtown development, but not at the expense of demolishing a Main Street structure that has served as a welcoming beacon to all entering our beloved town that serves everyone. In case you are not aware, that facility was created by the citizens of the town of Somerville, initially under the auspice of the St. Paul's Church Mission, St. Barnabas Mission, on lands donated by Kitty Springs for the betterment of those less fortunate living in and around Somerville. Later, the Somerville Infirmary was created by the citizens of Somerville in 1920 for the purpose of maintaining a hospital in Somerville on a non-money-making basis where free service would be provided to those in need and unable to pay. This endeavor was undertaken to not only provide for those previously served by St. Barnabas, but also help those served by Dr. A.B. Lee and Dr. J.A. Austin of Austin Schools. By 1936, Senator James Burns notified the Somerville Infirmary of $120,000 allotment for a new county hospital that would serve all citizens until 1975, with 38 years of long and productive healthcare service to the town and the county of Dorchester. Since then, the property has continued to serve the citizens by providing ease and access to various county offices, as well as continuing to act as an historic welcoming structure that helps to set the ambiance of the downtown area and reminds everyone that the property is there for the benefit of the public. So to sum it up, the property referred to in the news article was given by a person of color back in the late 1800s to be used to the benefit of the people living in the area, not it to the highest bidder. In my humble opinion, anything less would be a disgrace to Kitty Springs. And that is written by Colonel Thomas Dion, former Department of Engineering at the Citadel, and he resides at 626 West Carolina. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hayward Hudson.
Mr. Mayor and members of council. I'm Hayward Hudson and I reside at 215 Golf Road in Somerville. I make these remarks on behalf of the Somerville Preservation Society. We have been strong advocates for preservation since the society was founded in 1972. I personally fought to preserve Somerville while I was still serving in the Army at the Pentagon about 40 years ago. I tried to prevent a metal warehouse from being built on Richardson Avenue, but was unsuccessful. The town was more influenced by the company's contribution to the tax base. The Somerville Preservation Society bought the old town hall in 1989 after Hurricane Hugo, left it with $50,000 in damages. We paid off the mortgage at a rate of 10% in 8 years. We did it without government money. It was done by selling prints from the historic series of paintings, all done by local artists that we started in 1990. Ironically, the purpose was to capture on canvas the historic sites that were disappearing or had already disappeared. We also sold books, That's Pineland Village. It includes the articles that Beth McIntosh wrote for the Somerville Scene about homes and structures in the historic district. Beth McIntosh served on this town council and was the prime mover in establishing the historic district. We believe that we have set a good example by purchasing, restoring, and maintaining the oldest public building in Somerville without dependence on government money. We expect our elected officials to support efforts to protect and preserve our historic structures, especially those owned by local government in the historic district. When you and your colleagues on county council took office, you took an oath to support the Constitution and uphold the laws of this land. The Historic Preservation Ordinance is part of our local laws. This begs the question, why are you even considering a request from county council that would ultimately entail the demolition of an icon of the historic district? By responding either positively or negatively to county council's request to remove 500 North Main from the tax increment financing district, you will become an enabler. You will be facilitating the demolition of the old hospital and displacement of the Veterans Memorial. You cannot pass the buck. Therefore, you should respond like you did in 2012, when most of you were on town council. When town council expanded the historic district to include the old hospital human services building historic site. You should request that county council reconsider their plans for the sale and redevelopment of 500 North Main Street. You should state emphatically that the old hospital county services building historic site should remain in the public domain and continue to serve the public as it has for 86 years. It should be preserved, protected, and respected as a part of the historic district. That is the will of the people you represent. We have expressed that in petitions, the newspaper, and public hearings and meetings over the last 30 years. That should be the will of this town council and county council. Most of you voted in 2012 to protect and preserve the old hospital county services building historic site. We ask that you reaffirm your 2012 vote tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Barbara Mojourner.
Before I begin, I'd like to give something to the mayor. He's willing. This is a print of a newspaper article that appeared in the Post and Courier in 1989 or 90. I'm not exactly sure. In it is pictured the mayor, who was then fire chief, Mrs. Joan McKissick, who was the council's wife, and two toddlers, one of whom is my daughter, and she's now 37. They are appearing in front of Old Town Hall in support of an effort to raise money to buy the Old Town Hall. So I give this to the mayor in the hope that he is still as interested in historic preservation now as he was 33 years ago. I am Barbara Mojani. I live at 221 Brandywine Drive. Mayor Waring, Councilman and Council Lady. I'm speaking to you to respectfully ask that you do not remove the 500 North Main block in Somerville from the TIF district. You have the power to not enable the county to make a disastrous mistake. The sale of the property at 500 North Main, demolition of the historic hospital building, removal of trees, relocation of the Veterans Memorial, and construction of up to 7 buildings, a couple of them 5 stories tall, will have a permanent negative effect on our dear town of Somerville. The added traffic of over 400 cars at that intersection will significantly impair the travel and commute experience of thousands of drivers a day. The roads will have to be enlarged, meaning costly construction, which will further snarl traffic in town for months or years. The Somerville skyline will be a parking garage. The preservation of all our historic buildings would be in jeopardy if this precedent is established. If allowed to issue bonds in a newly designated fee in lieu of tax district on this block, the county, that's all of us, would be in enormous debt. I am aware of no feasibility study which indicates a need for more hotel rooms, retail space, offices, or parking in town. And I didn't know the charm, history, ambience, and small town reverence for our military veterans was for sale. Please use your wisdom and experience to prevent the sale of the 500 North Main block. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tricia Melton.
Good evening. My name is Tricia Melton. I live right off Gahagan Road. I'll be brief tonight. The old hospital. Those 3 words are evoking much passion these days. This is going to be a long journey as the town and the county move forward on this incredibly complex project. I understand that tonight y'all will undoubtedly probably be giving unanimous approval to amending the Somerville Midtown redevelopment plan. I understand why you are doing this. It's financial and the county has made it worthwhile. Last month, Mayor Waring said we were talking to the wrong people, that we needed to talk to council, to county council. And I understand that the town does not own this property. I do understand that. And I understand that the county has every right to sell that property. However, I do not believe the county has the right to demolish the old hospital. The town council holds the reins to this action. I understand that this is a future battle. I just hope that town council listens to the public, listen to us when the county comes before the Board of Architectural Review requesting demolition of the old hospital. As I said, that battle is in the future. I think tonight's thing is preordained. Thank you.
Thank you. And you're right.
Kevin Carroll. Ben LaFond. Yes, sir.
Mayor, members of town council, good to see all of you. I represent Samuel Pennington, who has requested his property on North Maple Street be annexed into the town and granted the UCMX designation. It's currently zoned OI, Office Industrial, by the county. If you 3 or 4 properties on each side of it are currently zoned R1. Everything property across the street from it is zoned either other or neighborhood mixed, the stuff that's in the town. And then catty corner across the street from it, everything is UCMX. And once you get out to 78, because we're only a couple hundred yards from Highway 78 on Maple Street, everything on 78 is either UCMX or light industrial. All of the corridors running into this piece of property. The property is approximately 50 feet wide, 170 feet deep or so. It's a very narrow parcel. It's right next to the entrance to the mobile home park, right across where when Wassamasaw turns into Winter Drive across the street. You're looking into the mobile home park. It is the property directly on the right side of the entrance. My client currently owns an automobile business that he sells automobiles in Goose Creek. He understands his property. It's not ideal for that, but he doesn't live very far from it. It's probably the property that he currently has his business on is for sale in Goose Creek. He wants to sell a few cars a month. That's the most he sells. He's basically retired at this point, but his motor vehicle dealer's license is a valuable commodity for him. And he doesn't want to get rid of it at this point in time. And he has to have a storefront, a place for him to park that license per se. As y'all are probably aware, like I stated earlier, a lot of the surrounding area, other than the Robin Wind subdivision itself and the mobile home park, is zoned some type of commercial zoning. We had initially looked at doing it as for commercial zoning, staying in the county, but their lot size requirements made it impossible. It would require having the property, basically having a new ordinance drawn up or an amended ordinance in the county. So my client asked me to petition the town for annexation under the urban corridor mixed. When I met with the standing committees, they had indicated that it might be better used for the neighborhood mix, the NMX zoning. I would still ask for the urban corridor mixed zoning if the town were to annex the property. But if the town is not willing to do neighborhood mixed, the urban corridor mixed, then to grant my client neighborhood mixed on annexation. I'd be happy to answer any questions y'all have about the property, the surrounding properties. I won't take any more of the time. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, that's all I have for people who signed up for the agenda items for public comment.
Nobody else. All right, nobody else on the public comments? If not, we move on to our council meeting under petitions.
Petition by Samuel G. Pennington and Hallie Perkins to annex TMS number 130100018, located at 518 North Maple Street and totaling approximately 0.58 acres. Currently zoned OI, Office and Institutional District in Dorchester County, and will be zoned UCMX, Urban Corridor Mixed Use upon annexation into the town of Somerville's municipal limits. This would be in Council District 1. The Planning Commission held a public hearing and made a recommendation for denial at their meeting on June 19th, 2023. The Planning and Development Committee voted to move the item to full council without a recommendation at their meeting on July 10th, 2023.
Mr. Mayor, if I might speak on this issue. The gentleman who just spoke mentioned that the majority of this properties that surround the property that he's concerned with is R1, which is residential. The properties that he's talking about, this is not a good fit. This is a residential area where a lot of people make their homes, and it just doesn't seem to be a fit. It's also interesting to note that the citizens group, the Planning and Development Committee voted to deny this. And also when the Planning Committee of the town met on it Monday night. They recommend to send it to full council without a recommendation. So I make a motion that we deny this.
Second. Okay, we got a motion on the floor to deny this recommendation. We got a second.
Mr. Mayor. If I understood during public comment period, one of the discussion items that was discussed on Monday during our meeting, our committee meeting, was that the property size and width would not be able to support the use under UCMX. As a matter of fact, more than half of the width would be a buffer, and it would be unachievable. And then to have a commercial drive that meets the standards for the Department of Transportation, that would be in excess of the full width of the driveway. However, if I understood Ms. Schuler correctly, neighborhood mixed use is a use that is in that area and maybe something desirable. So my question is, I agree with Councilman Brown. I wish not to approve UCMX. I don't think that's right for that area, so I agree with that. If we deny this request for UCMX, is the property owner allowed to submit another annexation request for another, or do they have to wait a year? It's my understanding they have to wait a year. And if the property owner is willing to meet the NMX that Ms. Schuler says was more appropriate for the property, is that something we may want to approve or discuss? So I just lay that out there since I was in the committee meetings on Monday.
If we deny it, GW, do they have to wait a year?
I can look it up right now, but the Schuler may be able to answer that. And I can research.
As long as the application is different, it's not the exact same application, then they would not have to wait a year. So I mean, they could reapply for a different zoning district with the annexation.
You satisfy me. I'm good. Thank you.
Excuse me, Mayor, Jesse.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay,
do they have to submit another one or can we, since his attorney said that they would accept that, can we just amend for the new zoning or?
Y'all always have the ability to amend an ordinance, is my understanding.
And that was gonna be my thought, was that we may consider amending the ordinance. What I was concerned about until I heard Mr. LaFawn just now is that we typically don't drag people into the town. If they want to come into the town, we almost always welcome them unless there's an issue with zoning. And if they don't want to come into the town, traditionally, we've created a donut hole around them, which is not particularly inefficient, but that's just kind of the way we've approached annexation. So I think NMX is more appropriate. My biggest concerns with UCMX is, as Councilman Touchberry says, I don't think you can operate. I understand that our ordinance would require UCMX for someone to operate a auto lot, but I don't think you can operate an auto lot on a 50-foot wide parcel like that for the reasons that Mr. Touchberry gave. And my biggest concern about UCMX, and we will be taking it up in just a few more items, is that, and we should amend it. We should amend the UDO, but I don't know that there's the votes to do it.
yeah, I think we can do that at a different time, Bill.
Well,
What we dealing
you've
with-
got a 55-foot restriction on UCMX, but it's not really restriction. That a future council could actually in UCMX go above 55 feet. You also have in UCMX, I'm not sure if there's any part of the property that must, can it all be impermeable?
what we're dealing with is, what
Technically,
we got
yes,
here.
but it would, I mean, they'd still have to meet stormwater requirements.
Right.
Yeah.
I just think if we let this property in at UCMX, I don't know if a car lot will ever exist there. I'm always hesitant, or if it doesn't, won't exist there for long. I'm always very hesitant to rezone, upzone a property based on what the applicant intends to do with it. Intentions can change overnight. So I was prepared, once I heard Mr. LaFawn say that his client was willing to come into the town at NMX, I was prepared to make an amendment to the ordinance, to propose an amendment to the ordinance to change from UCMX to neighborhood mixed use. But I'm not sure I can do that now because the motion on the table is to deny the application.
And I agree. My problem with the urban corridor is it's looking like probably doesn't have the space to make what he wants to do work. And when it doesn't, and he puts it up for sale, that piece of property, there's no telling what somebody would put on it. So
We got a motion on the floor in a second. All in favor, signify by raising their hand, and voting aye.
Mayor, can we amend the denial
Sure.
motion
Sure.
to ask it to go to
Here's what I think we can do. I can move to table the motion to deny.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion on the floor to table a motion in a second. All in favor of that? Signify by raising your right hand.
Aye.
Okay, we table a motion.
Mr.
I vote nay on the motion.
I vote nay on the motion too.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to amend the petition and strike where it says will be UCMX urban corridor mixed use, to strike that and replace it with NMX neighborhood mixed use upon annexation.
Second. Got a motion on the floor to Bill's motion. I'm not gonna repeat it because I can't. Got a second? All in favor of this? Any discussion? All in favor of this, signify by raising right hand, voting aye. Aye. Opposed likewise. Opposed. Ayes carried.
I think we
Move
now
on.
have to move, we have to vote on the petition as amended.
What do we need to do?
We need to vote on the petition as amended.
Yeah, okay.
I'll make a motion. We vote on the petition as amended.
So a motion made and second on the motion as amended. Second. All in favor of this, signify by raising right hand, voting aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Opposed. Okay, motion carried.
Second and final reading of an ordinance to amend the Town of Somerville Code of Ordinances, Chapter 20, Article 4, Section 20-102, to reduce the 80% discount of the maximum impact fee allowed to 0%, so as to apply 100% of the maximum allowable parks and recreation impact fee.
I'll make a motion. We approve that.
Second. Motion on the floor and second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of this, signify by raising right hand, voting aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed likewise. Okay, motion carried. Beth.
Second and final reading of an ordinance to rezone TMS number 13014130009, located at 715 West North Street, approximately 0.22 acres and owned by Thomas A. Limehouse, from NMX neighborhood mixed use to UCMX urban corridor mixed use, and this would be in Council District 1.
Motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second, motion made and second. Any discussion? All in favor of this, signify by raising right hand, voting aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Ayes carried.
Second and final reading of an ordinance to rezone TMS numbers 13014130007 and 008, located at 100 North Hampton Street and 711 West Fifth North Street respectively, totaling approximately 1.1 acres and owned by Willie S. Limehouse from NMX Neighborhood Mixed Use to UCMX Urban Corridor Mixed Use.
Make a motion, we approve. Second reading.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of this, signify by raising right hand, voting aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
First reading of an ordinance to release the existing lease and approve the new lease of 100 West Richardson Avenue, Suite C.
Motion,
I'll make a motion to approve, but would like to understand exactly what's happening. I'll second.
okay, you got a motion, but second, Lisa, you want to explain that? That's right downstairs, right?
Yes, sir. This is the hair salon. So we are releasing them from their existing lease and then entering into a new lease with them. And I believe there's a sublease involved with another entity. Okay.
Let's see. If someone come in, they're gonna have a coffee shop. If they sort of divided that space up. A realtor, Robert Pratt, who recommended that we allow to do this. I think it's already been done.
Yeah, I'm trying to get Robin. We've been talking about this. Is everybody familiar with what we're talking about right down in 1 hour? Officer downstairs, okay, same lady.
If I'm not mistaken, Mayor, I believe, Mr. Pratt, all the council in the executive session.
Right,
But
right,
it's been some.
yeah. Okay, everybody understand that? Okay. All in favor of this, signify by raising right hand, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Carry.
First reading of an ordinance to amend the Town of Somerville Midtown redevelopment plan in order to remove one parcel from the redevelopment project area and making a specific finding of benefit to the redevelopment project area of a town public safety and general administrative facility. Provide for notice to overlapping taxing jurisdictions in connection with the foregoing. Provide for publication of notice of adoption hereof and other matters related thereto.
I'll make a motion, we approve. Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to say from a few things in the comments earlier. One, we get zero revenue off this property right now. The TIF gets zero revenue off this property right now. Wasn't even in the books. It kind of got put in there by accident. What we do has no bearing on what the county does. But if they build it and it's outside the TIF, we may have the money to build a police station. Otherwise, we're gonna have to come to the taxpayers to build it, and that's not gonna be cheap. So that's my thing right now. They're talking about leaving the facade. And also the Veterans Memorial will not move. And I'm actually working on a statue for Chris Zellick, a Somerville native, him and his wife that was killed in Afghanistan and got the Congressional Medal of Honor. And I would like to see that added to that veteran memorial. And the county's talking about increasing the park around it. So some of the things that were said, I don't know where it came from, but that's my information.
I would probably, I mean, I appreciated all of the public comments. Some of them I didn't completely understand or agree with, but I certainly appreciate the passion of people that don't want to see the hospital building demolished. And I'm one of those people. I would say this, the relationship between taking the property out of the TIF and the redevelopment of the property by the county is somewhat tenuous, but it exists. And this is what it is. Mr. Jackson is correct. The property was put in the TIF. I don't think by accident, but what was done perhaps by accident was no revenues, no future revenues from that property were projected or part of the bond offerings at all. And that, frankly, I mean, that may have been able to issue more bonds had we done that. We didn't do that. It is my understanding that at one time, the county wanted to be part of the TIF. What I think has happened, and I think it's what's driven the county's proposal to be as high a density as possible, is there, and I've heard this straight from county council members. I don't think I'm making this up or misquoting them. They want to be able to bond as much money as soon as possible on the future, on this property, using future anticipated tax revenues to back the bond. And by being in our TIF, it's not as attractive. It doesn't generate as much revenue. They can't issue bonds at all, or maybe for as much as they want to. But simply removing it from the TIF doesn't do anything, except it will allow the county to proceed with the fee in lieu of taxes, as some people have mentioned, and proceed from there. But the ultimate decision on demolishing the hospital lies not with this council, certainly not with county council, but with the town's Board of Architectural Review. My concern is that the pressure that will be placed on the Board of Architectural Review will be driven not by merits of what the BAR is supposed to consider, but by hyperinflated potential revenues that may or may not ever come to fruition. And that's, I believe, why the county wants out of the TIF and into a fee in lieu of taxes, so they can, with a straight face, project much higher revenues based on, as I said, as high a density development as possible, and then look to the Board of Architectural Review and say, are you really going to stand in front of, stand in the way of hundreds of millions of dollars that, may or may not ever happen? I mean, that's what's going on here. I don't have any heartburn about it being in the TIF or not being in the TIF, but, I think what the county has proposed is a slap in the face to the people of Somerville. And I know that they've made some statements, and Councilman Hearn in particular has tried to codify some of those statements that they're going to do certain things or try to do certain things. But what I haven't heard is any thoughts whatsoever of preserving the original 1937 building. So for those reasons, I'm going to vote against first reading of the ordinance.
Thank you, Bill. It's like this young lady sitting in front of me said that I said at the last meeting. It's not up to us, and y'all are here like it is up to us, and it's not. It's up to us to take it out of the TIF, but it's not up to us whether that old building comes down. And I was honest with my cousin Haywood Hudson, and people have told me, said, I don't know how you claim him. Well, I claim him because he's my cousin, and I like him, and I admire him, and I respect him. But that doesn't mean because I'm 75 and he might be 85 that we can't agree to disagree. And the old building doesn't mean as much to me that it does him, even though I was born then, he wasn't. And I feel like that if I trust our BAR, and if they allow the building to stay there, that's fine. But if they allow it to be torn down, that's fine with me too. And I told Haywood that, And he got really upset with me. And we were in my office talking, and I knew he was upset with me. But you know, I got a lot of my grandmother in me who was a lot closer kin to me than I am. But she was very outspoken and she told the truth. And she taught me to tell the truth. So I told him the truth. And you know, I look at Main Street I look at the railroad track to the old hospital. And that's going to be developed. And it's going to be developed different than the old hospital or the county service building. And one day, and I won't live to see it, but if I live to be 100, and then I won't know what it looks like. But you know, it's going to be developed, and then all of a sudden we're going to have this county service building there, and it's going to not look even close to the same that was going to be developed down there towards it, I think. But you know, I got to do what I think's best for the town of Somerville now and in the future, and that's what I do. I do what's in my heart, and I do what people like Haywood ask me to do. And very seldom over the years, I hadn't done what he asked me to do because I got so much respect for him. And this is one time we've had a disagreement, and it hadn't been pleasant for me. I can tell you, it hadn't. And but anyway, I disagreed with him, and not because of tearing down the building, because I don't have anything to do with that. But I trust our BAR, and whatever they do, I trust them. And if they say to the county or whoever the developer is to tear it down, then that's what they do. I'll be gone. I'll be gone in December, and I can look up to my God in heaven and say, you know, I've been with this town since 1969, and I've tried my best to do what I think has been best for the town of Somerville. Not for what I think's been best for Ricky Waring, but what I've been done for the best of the town of Somerville only. And I've disappointed a lot of people, and I've made a lot of people happy. But you know what? None of it's been for me. It's been for what I think's best for the town of Somerville as a whole, not for one individual. And over the years, like I got tears in my eyes for Rodney Prophet a while ago, who I've been in burning buildings for him. And you know what? I can honestly say I'm happy sitting up here because I know I've disappointed a lot of you people sitting in this room tonight because of your individual feelings for one building. Well, I've had my individual feelings for every building in Somerville. When that phone call rang and I've been sleeping in that bed in that fire station and somebody's family's been in that home, I've had my feelings for all them. Not one building. So you know what? I'm not gonna lose any sleep because I've disappointed y'all. All I can say is I'm sorry. I did my best. I've done my best. I'll be done the end of this year. And Haywood, I'm sorry. I am. And I've done my best. But, you know, I think that we as a council have studied. I know this group over here and this group over here have had a lot of struggle dealing with what we've done tonight. A lot of struggle. We have worked hard. We've worked hard, but we know what we're doing, I think, as a group of individual minds working together to try to come up with what we think's best dollar-wise for the town of Somerville. Public safety, what we're gonna do with the money we're gonna get out of what we've done here tonight in public safety. I mean, you just don't know. Y'all don't know the whole story. And it's not about one building at 500 North Main Street. It's about a whole lot of stuff. A whole lot of stuff. And I just want you to know that we have to deal with that. Y'all are here for one thing. We are here for all of y'all and all of y'all's public safety and everything else you have to deal with and live with. And that's what we wake up with. That's what we go to bed with. And please forgive us if we didn't make you happy tonight with what we voted on. But I promise you, it's what we think is best as a group, not as one individualist. We got, that's all I want to say. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for pouring your hearts out. We understand what you're doing. We do. And thank you for coming.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for your comments. Councilman McIntosh and Jackson, I do want to make a couple of other comments to add to it. It is important to note that the TIF bonds that we issued did not factor any revenue from 500 North Main. And I just want to make sure that that's clear. The other item that I think is extremely important is I believe your voices have been heard, because I've had several conversations with county council members over the life of this discussion, and they have been responsive to the feedback from this body and others. I have expressed concerns, and things that they are discussing bringing in front of the bar are different, and I would say radically different than the high density concept plan that was previously distributed. And I believe the partnership and the communication and working together is vitally important, because Somerville and Dorchester County are going to have to work together on very big challenges in the future. And this is one challenge. And the gentleman, I believe, the last name was the Banks. They spoke about the infrastructure. The county's transportation sales tax is a solution that can help us solve some of these infrastructure challenges. So what I'm saying is, for me, I'm going to vote for first reading. I believe your voices are being heard, and it's changing the shape of what 500 North Main can be. If we work with our partners, I think the outcome can be an entryway to Somerville that everybody can be proud of. And I believe there's a chance that a large portion of the hospital will be preserved. But that is up to the bar. The county has not even sold the property yet, and there's no information in front of the town in an official capacity. So I'm voting for first reading, and I just wanted to state why I think it's important for us to continue to work as partners, but for you to continue to give feedback to all of your elected officials. Thank you.
And I'd like to just ditto many things that Mr. Touchberry just said. The original plan that we were presented with, I was not impressed with that. Like many of you, I was looking at this thinking there's not enough parking. There's going to be so much more traffic. And after speaking with several county council members, they say that there will be a new plan presented. I'm anxious to see what that will be. And if it's something that I do not like, even if it passes the bar, I will vote against it when it comes to that part. But I will go ahead and I will vote for this first reading to remove it from the TIF. Many of the same reasons that Mr. Touchberry had said.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I know there are a lot of emotions, and those of you who know me, you know, I'm from Somerville, hadn't lived here my whole life, but I'm born here and have basically been here my whole life. And we feel differently about different buildings that are in the town of Somerville. There's some that I cry about that are gone. But I think it's important to understand that whether we leave this in the TIF or take it out of the TIF changes not what can happen on that property. It makes no difference. What it does change is the financial value of what it is potentially to the county and to the town of Somerville. That's all. We can leave it there. We can bring it out. And that ends up just being a financial mechanism. We don't have the authority to guide the county on what, when they sell it, if they sell it, what the developer does. That's the BAR. This is all between a developer and the BAR. It is not us. And I just hope everybody's clear that we don't have a vote for or against that. We have a vote for the mechanism that might be used for how they finance it.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor and a second, right? Or any other discussion? If not, all in favor of this, signify by raising your right hand, voting aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Bill opposes. Okay,
Resolution to approve a new organizational chart for the town of Somerville.
Mr. Mayor, I would move approval of the proposed organizational chart.
Second.
okay, any discussion?
Yes, if I could, where I see police chief, is that supposed to be public safety? I mean, because I don't see, it just says police chief, but I don't see fire department or.
On the other end.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Look in.
I was looking at this and it was off the page. Okay, gotcha.
There's a motion and a second.
No, okay, motion second, no more discussion. Okay, all in favor, certify by raising your right hand, voting aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise.
Resolution to adopt the town of Somerville Urban Forest Master Plan.
Mr. Mayor, I move adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Okay, any motion on the floor in the second, any discussion? Not, all in favor, signify by raising your right hand, voting aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, ayes carry. Miscellaneous.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion on items ten A and ten B that we defer until the August council meeting to take these up, please.
Okay,
I'll second for discussion.
okay, any discussion? Got a motion to second, any discussion?
I just have a question. Are these MOUs or agreements not time dependent?
I don't believe they're time dependent. We just don't have the final versions of either.
That's a
of those
very good
agreements.
reason to defer then.
Anything else? So we go postpone that, right? All in favor of postponing that to the next meeting?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes carry. Public comments not,
Kevin Carroll.
Evening, Mr. Mayor and Town's Council members. My name is Kevin Carroll from Newington. 2 years ago, the town started the single stream recycling. There's a lot of blue top buckets out on the street. Mine's full, my trash is a quarter full. Because recycling costs less than trash dumping. Haulage is less, there are no tipping fees at the dump. So promoting recycling lowers the overall solid waste disposal cost. The question is, how are we doing? We've been doing it 2 years. No one's told us what we're doing. So could we have a report card every quarter that says the town is doing this much trash recycling and this is our percentage? And if we're not doing good enough, give us a little encouragement. And if we're doing good, congratulate us. Another issue, the speed limits. You drive around town and you go to some residential areas and there's a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit and underneath it says on all residential streets. And most people in town think that's a town ordinance on all residential streets. I've never heard that. If there is not one, I suggest you do it. We have 3 distinct traffic enforcement jurisdictions, the town of Somerville on town streets, Dorchester County on county streets, SCDOT and the state roads, and there are conflicting speed limits in these different roads. A county road, it can be 35 miles an hour and feed into a town road at 25. So if we can get a liaison with the county and try to adjust their limits closer to ours, we'd probably all be better off. If you drive South Main Street coming into town, when you get to Marion, it goes from 45 to 20 at the intersection. If you take a left onto Marion, now it's 30. At the end of Marion, West Carolina is 25. So when you try to do that, traffic calming on 25, they're already speeding down Marion, waiting to whoop right in there and keep on going. So I think all these streets have the same residential density. So technically the speed restriction should be the same in all. A little more conformity for speed limits would help the residential, would be great for all of us. And we'd all know what the real speed limit is. And finally, back when you had the discussion on the tax millage rate, Councilor McIntosh stated that he didn't want to see the population of Somerville explode to 100,000. And Mayor Waring said, that's okay, they're already here. But you said they're in the donut holes. And I looked at the map. It's not a donut hole. It's a meteor crater. There's a lot of people who aren't in town. Those people are here, their houses are built. They hopefully the density of those neighborhoods really won't increase. They drive the same streets as us. They're all around us, but they're not in the town of Somerville. So I think we need to do more to promote and encourage annexation of those people, the ones who are in a house and just want to come into town. No annexation, change for zoning, no public water, all that, just want to move into town. Tell them a cost benefit analysis, show them what you get when you come into town. I think we need to do that because annexation of that increases the tax base without building a single other home. They're already here. So do a social media campaign to show the cost benefit analysis and maybe we can encourage some of those people to come into town. Since they have a couple of seconds, DD2 this year put chains and locks on all the fields in town. In Newington, the kids can't play in the ball field. They can't go into the playground. I've written to DD2. I copied all of you too. DD2 has not responded. No one knows why. I said in my letter, if DD2 is saying this is a liability issue, they obviously have the wrong insurance company because the town and the county parks department, they're wide open. So I don't know what their issue is. They're being very silent on it. It's always nice to know that your school department doesn't want to respond to anything, but there are a lot of kids in town who can't get to play because they don't have transportation to another place in town. Their little park around the corner is no longer theirs. It's all locked up. So I know there's nothing you can do about it, but I want everybody to know that DD2 has gone out and shut down the playgrounds. And if you see kids playing on the street, that's probably the reason. I was a city kid. I always played in the street, but kids down here shouldn't have to play in the street when the playground's right there with a chain and a master lock. Number 3, the commercial locks right there on all of them. Not a good way to get a good reputation that you really care for the kids, because the kids who aren't in that playground right now are the kids that go to that school come August 24th. They're your same kids. So how can you sit there and say, we're taking care of the kids when you lock them out of the playground? Again, not your problem. But if they had another minute, I wasn't going to raise. Thank you very much for listening. Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, that's all I have.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion. We go into executive session, to discuss personnel, legal and contractual matters regarding received legal advice and possible resolution of Applegate LLC versus Town of Somerville. Discussion of personnel matter relating to the position of town prosecutor, contractual and legal matters related to proposed acquisition of property. Receive legal advice and update on the matter of Tyler versus Town of Somerville. Discussion of personnel matter regarding appointment of chief judge, contractual matter related to the fiscal year 23 audit services, and personnel matters related to proposed salary adjustments for council direct reports.
We're going downstairs, right?
Second.
Also, we're going down to the training room because there's no air conditioning up here. Well, we're going right downstairs.
I'll second.
Right, no shit. Okay. I get a, Kim, you made a motion?
I made the motion, Kim, a second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Excuse me. Opposed likewise. Ayes carry.